What's going on,
Hey,
everybody?
ha, everyone, listen up, listen up,
This is
men
an
and
important
men
one.
and ladies.
Or
This
boys and girls.
you
This
do
one's this
this,
one's
yeah,
this one's where
you,
we separate
yeah,
the
yeah. This one's where we piss some people off. um, I mean, like we're half joking, right? But like you may react to some of this stuff because guess what? You're walking around with your life with a bunch of extra stuff burdening you down, and everyone's out here saying, man, I want to feel free. I want freedom. I want to just feel free, blah, 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 blah. But you're burdened, right? You have burdened yourself and you cannot be free if you're walking around with a bunch of silly habits, silly beliefs, silly ideas of what your life is about and what you're here to do. So without further ado, as if, what are we going to title this one? Something about how to cut out the dead weight.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The things that you think are just dead weight, like I want you to imagine the concept of lugging around extra dead weight. It's actually worse than that. It's not just dead weight. You think you have friends or habits that are dead weight. It's not just dead weight. It's actually harmful weight. Like it's walking in the opposite direction kind of weight,
Yes.
if that makes
Yes.
sense, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Key, walking in the opposite direction.
so
Key, I'll say it again. Walking in
please
the
say
opposite
it.
direction. Right. You
Bang
got to
bang.
really see that, right? All the stuff we're going to talk about here, again, it's not just, oh, it's just going to slow you down. It's like, no, you're literally not going to accomplish your goal if you're doing
Yes,
this.
exactly. We're gonna give you this one nugget as we go into this call. I guess it's not a call. This audio experience and this is for everything
Yes.
that you're learning.
Yeah.
When you react to something, that is a key indicator. Don't suppress it. In fact, don't lose the gift, because a reaction is a key indicator of the limits of your programming. Okay. So in other words, when you're reacting to something, let's say we say success ain't sexy. However you think it's going to be is not going to be that way. It's not going to be this cool, like, oh my God, like look how flashy and spotlighting this is, and look how hype. It's none of that. It's actually really ugly. It's like you like crying in front of your laptop because you're so stressed out, but then you figure something out and it all works. Like if you have any reactions there and you're like, fuck, that's not what I signed up for. Cool. That goes to show you where you were going to fuck yourself. So coming into this audio, if you have any reactions that occur throughout this audio, just consider that has more to say about you than it has to say about us or what we're sharing. It's more so that this information is triggering some other information that's inside of you, and the 2 points are in conflict. You've accepted something that may not be supportive to you, and we're sharing something that would be supportive to you, or vice versa. Who knows?
Oh, as if you muted.
It cut it out for a second.
Yeah.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
There's a phone call that came. But maybe there's something that we're sharing that doesn't apply to your specific situation, and you have a reaction. What a reaction means is you got to look at it. You got to look at it. And a lot of the times, you're going to look at it with self-sabotaging eyes. In other words, you're just going to justify why you're right. So you really have to watch out for that. So when we're sharing something in here and it makes you react, I would highly suggest that this may be a point for you that is actually holding you back. If you're reacting, it's an indicator of, oh, this is why I'm not successful. So it's a good frame to take, or a good assumption to have, because that way you'd be able to be very teachable, and you'll if you question everything, you'll find the truth for yourself. If you question everything, you'll find the truth for yourself.
Exactly. Cool. So let's start questioning, right, everything that we've accepted in our lives.
Yeah, some bad habits. You want to start with some bad habits?
let's start with the easy ones, right? Some of the easier ones is like if you
easy or difficult.
Right. Difficult. Yeah, exactly. It's relative, right? But here's one: the habit of hanging around friends, old friends that are not also aligned with where you're headed. For example, right? You want to build a business and be very successful. Your friends would prefer to drink and smoke weed or play video games or gossip or watch TV
or just hang
whatever.
around and do that. Right, exactly. Yeah. Let's just hang around and watch football and watch
Right.
it doesn't even, right? It doesn't even have to be all those, we're going to talk about those other things, drinking
Right.
and smoking weed and all that stuff. But if it's just you just want to hang out and do nothing, basically, this is something to look at.
Right. Exactly. Because yeah. I mean, again, look at it for yourself, right? Even if you're spending 3 hours a week, right? Maybe it's your Friday nights or your Saturday afternoons or your Sunday afternoons or whatever with people that see it as valid to just hang around, do nothing. Again, I'm not saying there's not a time and place where you can hang around and do nothing, but if that's like the recurring pattern and you're with
Yep.
people that don't also have vision and goals and things like that, their level of thinking is going to influence you. And the types of conversations, all that stuff, it basically will keep you stuck. Now, does it say cut out your friends right now and never hang out with them again? No. But maybe this is an invitation for you to, the next time you see those people, maybe instead of going out there for 3 hours with no end in sight, you commit to yourself, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll go hang out with them for an hour and I'll talk to them about the stuff I find important in my life. And if some of them think that's cool, great, then I can influence them. And if they start laughing at me or they're like, dude, who are you? Like, why are you trying to talk about that stuff? Ding, ding, ding. You now have your indicator of, does that person actually care about you and want to support you? Because
Right.
my guess is you care about your friends and you would like for them to also do more and be more and have more in their life. But if they don't want that for themselves, that will show you the level that they will be at. And
This is something that will vary person to person. Okay. And generally speaking, it's if you are more feminine, you will have a harder time of doing this. I'll just tell you guys, my brother Kian, he was kind of always the odd one out in high school and family and friends and all that stuff. So he had no problem letting go of his idiot friends who weren't aligned with actually growing and taking on more and making more money and getting rich and being successful. Right. For me, I was more feminine. I was raised more feminine. I was. Okay. It's something I've had to change a lot. I don't have those issues anymore. But it was so difficult for me to let go of the social point, right? Social, the social point is it's a more feminine point. I'm not saying that guys don't have that. Just consider what I'm saying. Okay. I'm saying it's a more feminine point. It was so hard for me. I was like, no, I need my friends. I need my friends. And Ken's like, yeah, but we were staying up 7 hours playing video games, doing nothing. I'm like, no, I talk about some real stuff with them. I plant seeds. Bullshit. It was all fucking bullshit. At the time, I thought I was so real. I was like, no. Like I'm actually, I can see I'm getting through to them and all this shit.
yeah, they have so much potential. Oh my gosh,
right.
I see their potential, man. They just do these few things and change, man. They've got a lot of potential. It's like, sure.
But we're playing video games for like 4 hours at the time and talking about real shit for 20 minutes.
Exactly. So it's like, again, it's not to say now you have to just X them out of your life and not communicate again. No, of course not. Rather, this is your invitation to now actually have that conversation with them of, hey, what do you want out of your life? Do you want, because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take on more responsibility. I want to make a ton of money. I want to make a positive change in the world. Do you want to do that or not? If they're like, no, man, not for me. Okay. Well,
right.
I would suggest you at least check it out, but okay, well, whatever. And then now you open, guess what, right? This is going to become clear throughout everything that I share here is as you cut that dead weight, you then open up new things that you could not have been opened up to because you only have so much capacity, right? And you have different things that can increase your capacity, but right now you only have so much capacity, so much time, energy, attention, all that. And so if you're wasting that capacity on situations that are not going to support you to reach your full potential, it's like, okay, that's too bad. Because think about this, right? You could spend 3 hours with your 5 friends, you play video games for basically 90% of the time, and for 10% of the time, you talk about some cool shit. Well,
what's going on in the world, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Oh. But think about this, right? You could spend that same 3 hours with a group of 5 friends actually talking about real shit that matters. And then for 10% of the time, you're fucking around playing a game or something. And it's like,
right.
Because, right, you're never going to get that time back. And that's the transition you have to make if you want to be extremely successful. You have to.
Right. Just you guys can test this point for yourselves. Okay. And there's two things. Okay. I can make it easy for you. I can make it easier for you. It's still going to be difficult. You still have to walk through the emotion and the attachment to it. And this could be family, right? For me, it was my cousins. I'm really attached to my cousins. Productive was happening, but I was really attached to my cousins, right? So two things. One of them is ask yourself, the next time you go hang out with your friends or your cousins or whoever, ask yourself, me being in this environment, I want you to think this thought. Ask yourself this question when you're there. Does it motivate me to do more? Does being around them motivate me to do more? Or do I feel like I'm getting drained? Does it feel like it's taking away from me? Do I feel like I have to be somebody I'm not? Is it taking away from me or adding to me? Okay. It was a really good test, because if that question is answered with, oh shit, I'm getting drained, or oh yeah, fuck yeah, this is motivating to if you even, honestly, man, if anybody listening to this, if the question isn't obvious, where it's not, if the question isn't so obvious that you don't even have to ask the question, then it's probably a negative answer. In other words, when I'm with Mitchell, when Mitchell was in Florida, I'm not asking myself that question. It's not even a concern.
Right.
It's like,
it's like that's why I went to Florida, and it's why Asif said, hey, you can come stay at my house. Because we just know.
Exactly, right?
Like, yes, this is a very good thing. We need to be doing this because XYZ reason, we can see it.
Is being around Mitch really a good influence on me? It's not even a thought, right? So that's one thing that can, but here's the second thing, okay? This is important for you to understand. And when it comes time to having that maybe tricky conversation of being like, hey, when they ask you to hang out, and then you realize like it's not good for you, and then the way you support them to see why, or whatever, you make up an excuse, doesn't even fucking matter. But just if you choose to be real with yourself, at least, it's not personal. Okay. And I'm just gonna make this clear for my feminine guys or my feminine gals. It's not personal. You're not hanging out with your friend. The reason that you're going to choose to not hang out with your friend or not hang out with your cousin or whoever is not because they as a being is flawed. It's just that they don't fit in to where you're going. You love them. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, for sure. You know, and if we see each other, oh my God, still 100% down. And hey, if you want to talk about this stuff or come on this meeting or do this, oh man, I would love to hang out. For sure, 100%. I always leave the door open. When I was going through this, I always left the door open. And what ended up happening is my cousins became part of the networks, the local networks that we have, and they got Technic Tutor for themselves, and they really started changing. It was really awesome. I didn't even know that was possible. Okay, but I'm not even going to go there. I'm not talking about influencing, right? Maybe that will take some more time for people, but just consider this point of it's not personal to them. If they align with your vision, share what you want in your relationships and ask them if they want to fit in. If they want to fit into that, you don't fit into their bullshit. Let them fit into your frame. Okay, that will actually uplift them. And if they don't want that, then the good thing you let go of them.
Right. And that's the beauty of this. Like you said, Asif, I really want to highlight that point is you can leave the door open for them. Yes. Right. And maybe and that's why social media is kind of cool, because you can post things on there and they'll see your life change and grow, and their life will stay the same. And at some point they'll realize, okay, like if you're building a clubhouse, like an in-person meetup, that's what I mean by clubhouse, if any of you are unfamiliar, and they're going to see, and hey, guess what? Some of the times people will actually come out, and then they'll see and they're like, holy shit, this is pretty cool. Right. But it's like, you only get there by taking a stand. Right? And that's what we mean by cutting the dead weight. Right.
Yes. So I think that's a good.
Yeah.
And remember, when we say dead weight, we're talking about things that are walking in the opposite. Every time that you're hanging out with that person, it's not slowing you down. It is. I forgot to touch on this. I want to touch on this real quick. Because the question that I suggested you ask is this uplifting me? Is this supporting me? Is this making me want to do more? Or is it kind of lowering my energy, making me want to do less? That's a conscious question, right? If you have to ask that question, there's a problem. But the reason why that question is important is because I know what's going on there. I've had unsupportive people that I used to hang around with. Mitch had unsupportive people that he used to hang around with. The effect that has on you unconsciously and subconsciously, I'll tell you guys something. That the people that you're hanging around with, you are becoming like those people. If you are not actively influencing them to get on your wagon, if you're not actively influencing them to raise up, you are being dragged down. Just being in that environment, you are being pulled backwards. You are being pulled back into shitty habits. You are adopting their way of thinking. You'll see it happen just by being around certain people. You're actually becoming more negative. You're getting a more negative outlook on life. All of these things are actually subconsciously and unconsciously affecting you. So just be hyper aware of that. Just because you don't logically see a reason why it's holding you back, it is holding you back. In fact, it's walking you back into old patterns. Something to consider for everyone.
Exactly. So now what else is there, right? Now, on the topic of relationships, someone might hear this and they might say, ooh, my girlfriend or my boyfriend or my husband or wife or whatever, ooh, I feel like they're pulling me back, okay? Here is a clear distinction, right? Okay, if your partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, I'm going to say if you're not married and have a kid, okay? If you're married and or have a kid, this is a separate point, okay? So this is just if you're dating, right? You haven't officially legally married them, or you haven't officially you haven't like had a kid with them, right? So if you haven't done that, then yeah, you gotta have this type of conversation with them, right? And that's a topic for a future video of how do you set up a relationship properly and stuff like that. But if they're not on the same page and they're actively detracting from this, like, again, you gotta have the conversation. Like, hey, this is where I see my life. I want it to go. Where do you want your life to go? Does that line up? Okay, cool or not cool? Like, and so you just have that conversation, right? And it may be uncomfortable, but are you here to just appease people? Are you here to just live your life to try and make other people happy? Or are you here to actually do something real with your life? So that's a big piece. Now, if you're married and or you have a kid, that is a separate point of responsibility. And if you are feeling like that person is holding you back or you're going in the other direction, you got to reach out to me or Asif. Like, that is a very, very important point that we need to discuss. Like, that's me and Asif's responsibility. Is we know a few things that work extremely well that can turn relationships around pretty quickly. And yeah, it's better than any sort of therapy that's out there. And when we see marriages, husband and wife with kids, all sorts of situations where they've been on the brink of divorce to sorting it out and now thriving. We have seen that with our own eyes multiple times. And so point is, for that, because that's different, right? Because you've made a commitment to that person, and especially if you have a kid, right? Because that kid is 50% your spouse or your partner, 50% you owe it to that child, right? You've created that consequence. Now you have to walk that through. Okay.
The way to see that particular point is, if you had a child with that kid, you made your decision about who your partner will be.
Yeah. If you just to correct what he said, if you had a child with that partner, right?
What did I say?
Yeah. You misspoke. It's fine. So if you had done that, right?
With that kid or something.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah. Yes, you have already made that choice, and it's too late. So now, guess what? You can make the most of it, and it can still be fucking amazing. It can actually be the best thing ever. But you got to sort your shit out now.
Just to really pinpoint that, you might be feeling like, oh fuck no, like whatever the case may be. But just remember this: when you made the decision to have a child with that person, you were clear on something. There was something that you were clear about in that person as to why you made the decision to have a child with them. You just have to work through your bullshit in order to find that point again and hold on to that point, and then you guys can rebuild from there. So that's why definitely, if you're having that severe of issues, you guys have a kid or you guys are married, reach out to myself, reach out to Mitchell, because like Mitchell said, we've had people who went to marriage counseling for 8 months with 4 kids, and they still decided, we're going to get a divorce. It's not worth it. Like, they can't fix it. And then they were able to just go through some basic processes, use some basic tools. And a year later, they're like high school sweethearts again. So it's possible for everybody, especially if it's possible for them.
Yes, exactly. And you might hate me for this, but pretty much all the time, it's your fault, right? You're projecting onto your partner that, oh, she's a bitch, right? She's complaining, she's toxic, she's all this stuff, right? Oh, she could just support me better. In reality, you are the problem. Now, it's not to say that they're perfect. It's not to say that they're perfect. It's that we got to just find common ground and really start to look at ourselves and change, and then really get some good foundation to build on.
It's actually very empowering to know. I know Mitchell has experienced this. I know I've experienced this. is when you change yourself, you break whatever you were holding onto within yourself that's keeping your partner in a certain pattern that you're upset at. When you change it in yourself, when you let go of the blame, all that, it's like your partner changes in the blink of an eye. It's really fascinating. So anyways,
Yes.
without
Yes.
getting right, is that right? You can cross-reference
Yeah.
that for me, Mitch.
Yeah. I mean, that is that, right? Again, if you want specific support on that, or you need specific support on that, reach out to us, because that's a very, very important conversation that we don't take lightly. And so that's why we offer that support, right? Next up, right? What else you got to cut out, right?
Which one?
I think we should talk about entertainment, all the bullshit.
Yes, I was going to say internet. Yep.
Right. So Netflix, right? Entertainment, scrolling social media, TikTok.
This one is fascinating. This one is so fascinating because, okay, for those of you who feel like you don't have time, this is such a fascinating point, specifically with the scrolling social media. Okay. Why am I saying it's fascinating? Because the way your brain registers scrolling and that dopamine and all that is amazing. How unconscious that habit is and subconscious that habit is of that moment where you feel a little bit uncomfortable in a social situation, where you feel a little bit bored. Boom, you hit that threshold, and next thing you know, you're scrolling Facebook, you're scrolling Instagram, you're scrolling TikTok. Yep. It's fascinating how quickly that happens. And here's the more interesting thing that I just want to make note of real quick. For those of you who feel like you don't have enough time, 90% chance you're spending too much time on social media. And here's the really interesting part about how it registers in the brain. You look at your day, right? And if you're having breakfast, it registers as time taken up in your day. If you're taking a shower, it registers as time taken up in your day. If you're going to your job, if you have a phone call, if you have a meeting that you go to regularly, that registers in your brain, in your mind, as time taken up during your day. But scrolling social media does not register as time taken up in your day. So when you think about where your time is going, you will not think about the time that you spend on social media. It's kind of like this ghost that's stealing your time that you're not even aware of is stealing your time. It's fascinating, but there's a lot more to it, but that's just a really fascinating point.
Yeah. So like basic rule of thumb here is like with social media and all that stuff. I mean, you might have to have social media like for your business and stuff. We're not saying totally unplug and never look at it ever. Right. But we're saying, see if you can do like 10% of what you're currently doing. Right. Or when you go on social media, there's a distinct purpose for it. Right. So there's no scrolling. Or if you scroll, you set within yourself, you say, okay, for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to set a little timer. 5 minutes, I'm going to allow myself to fucking scroll. Okay, cool. Scroll. Right. Well, look at the photos that Asif posted of his, I don't know, his cool shit he's
Mitch,
doing.
You just posted your beautiful wedding pictures, man.
Yeah, right. See, look at the photo of Asif with the microphone, killing it, right? Or look at
the photo of me and Mitch dancing and Mitch screaming at the top of his lungs and just working it on the dance floor.
Right. Or look at the cool videos that we post, right? Or the stuff that we do.
That too.
Like I put these videos, as you do too, Asif, like the audio experience that we're doing here is like, we will share that on social media because one, we know people are scrolling, but two, it's okay, right? In a tiny, tiny dose, it's okay to do. It can actually be helpful because you can then stay plugged into your community. The thing is as soon as you lose your directive principle over it, that's the issue, right?
So say that again.
As soon as you lose your directive principle over your scrolling, right? So as soon as you go from, hey, I am intentionally scrolling here. Okay, cool. Oh, I want to check this person's profile. I want to see if they posted something. Okay, cool. I'm doing this. Okay, I'm done. Like that would be the perfect way.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then there's a threshold when you're like, ooh, what's that?
Yeah. Or then it's like, wait, notification. Oh, wait, this person, I haven't heard from them in a minute. Oh my God, wait, they said this. And then all of a sudden you're now fucked. You're fucked hard by it. Okay. You know what I'm talking about because now 30 minutes went by, you kind of feel off and you're just sitting there like, oh, what did I just do? Right. That's your precious life that's wasting away. Newsflash, your life is wasting away. Do you want it to waste away? You think there's something better after this life? You think, oh, if I'll just go through this life, I'll just be a good person, work through my life. And then all of a sudden, your life's over. And what did it amount to? Right? A bunch of likes on Facebook. Okay, so let's get serious about this, right? Here's another thing, right? Netflix, YouTube, all this stuff, right? General rule of thumb is like, I know, Asif, you and I occasionally, right? We'll watch a documentary. We'll watch some stuff on YouTube, You know, I utilize the watch later function in my YouTube. So I'll find cool stuff, podcasts, audios, educational stuff around all sorts of topics. I'll save it to my watch later playlist. But what I will do is I will set aside the time in my calendar when I'm actually going to do it. Right. So if you're watching YouTube before noon, before 3 p.m., you're doing something most likely wrong. I mean, granted, if you know your shit, right, and you know what we're talking about and you understand this point, of course, do what's working for you. Use your self-honesty, right? Because yeah, sometimes, right, at 10 a.m. I realize, oh, I need to do that one training and I got to listen to that one video so I know exactly what to say here. Cool. If that's part of it, like you'll know. But if you're just going
some
for
kind of
entertainment,
system, right? Right. I was gonna say, if you have some kind of system where you have to drive somewhere in the morning and you listen to an audio. Yeah, of course. Like that multitask. But this is the point to look at. If you reacted, if you're like, fuck, that's me, and then you hear Mitch say, but hey, if you know your shit, hey, it's no problem. And you're like, okay, I don't have to change.
Yeah.
You need to apply self-honesty. Same thing with the social media point, right? You need to apply self-honesty. More than likely, you are the person who is wasting your time and fucking around. So start with that assumption first to look at where you need to hone that in rather than be like, I'm good, I don't need to change, because that will be the default that we jump to that's actually self-sabotaging.
Right. And think about this, okay? This is another super freaking pro tip, spell of wisdom right here.
Here we go.
You listening, right? You are me in another life. You are Asif in another life. We cannot let you just abuse yourself. Fuck your self-abuse, okay? And by abuse yourself, I mean waste your precious life, your one thing you have. We can't let you waste that away. Just to become scrolling social media or whatever the fuck you're doing. Like, this is why we make these audios. So you can actually be supported to confront yourself. Now, we can't save you. We can't change you. We can just influence you so you can take responsibility for yourself, right? And that whole idea of Netflix and entertainment and I got to watch these shows and all that stuff, like occasionally, right? I personally, I found the show The Office to be pretty funny. I realized like all the programming around is fucked, right? They're like in an office, they hate their job, like they like get off on like the being a loser thing and all that. But like,
oh, dude, I remember later on I realized me and Maylat were talking about it as like Maylat like kind of like broke out of the spell of always watching entertainment and all this stuff, and she was walking this process, and she was like, one day she's like, Asif, Pam and Jim being held up as like an amazing relationship. Did they have a terrible fucking relationship?
Yeah.
They had a very bad relationship. I was like, shit,
isn't that funny?
true.
And then they like have their baby and then it's like glorified that then they're like both still working. Like, what the fuck? Right. Like, why is Jim not just crushing it closing because he's a sales guy? And why is Pam at a fucking desk? Like, why isn't Jim just 3 times as much effective and Pam can be home with the baby, like supporting it, right? And so, I mean, some of you might have got triggered just by that. Right? Oh, what is this, the 1950s? It's like, dude, Pam doesn't want to be in that damn office. Don't you hear everything she says the whole time? It's like, I know it's a TV show, but like, I personally find that show pretty fucking funny. Me and Jess do, because it's just so like silly, some of the stuff. And I think Michael Scott is like, it's a really funny character, right? Because it's so much the system that it's like kind of hilarious. And occasionally, right, if Jess and I, we're doing a lot and we can tell like, okay, we just had a long day, like 3 days in a row. We'll be like, okay, you know what? Let's go to bed an hour early and we'll like, let's watch 2 episodes of The Office. Actually, it's funny, right? But it's like, by the end of that, I don't want to watch it for another week. Then I'm like, that was enough. Like that was enough. Like, that was plenty.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I want to point out the formula in this. Okay. I remember when I was addicted to watching that stuff, when Maylat was addicted to watching that stuff. We're always right now. If you just felt, oh, I just got a reason or an excuse to watch The Office, big problem.
Yes.
This is the opposite of that. Okay, I used to love The Office. It's a great show, great show. I haven't watched it in forever, but you know, just like Mitchell is saying, when me and Maylat haven't spent much time together because we're working hard, I'm staying up late, whatever the case may be. I've recently re-implemented. Hey, Maylat, let's watch a stupid show. There's a show, Rick and Morty. Oh, this is a stupid show. This is funny. This is interesting. This stimulates me in a way that takes my mind off of things, just to create a little bit of creativity, a little bit of space. Cool. We watch an episode or two, maybe once every couple of days, once every week or two. And I haven't watched any of it. We did that for a couple of weeks and then now not anymore. But then maybe we'll play a game next week, or me and Kian and Muge and Mailat, we watched a movie, 21 Jump Street. Stupid movie. Funny movie. So stupid. Hilarious. Can't remember the last time I watched a movie. But I'm not looking for an excuse to watch a movie.
Yeah.
I'm saying, hey, let me unplug for a bit. It'll be good for me to recharge just a little bit, have a little fun time, whatever, for a couple hours in a week.
Exactly.
So look at the difference. It requires radical self-honesty.
Yep. So there's that, right? And I think that's good. I think that hammers home the entertainment point, right? In small doses, right? Like really fucking small doses, sure, right?
Or like we said earlier, disciplined fun time. What does that mean? It's like structure. You're not just falling into Facebook. You're not just I'm bored, I'm going to watch Netflix. Because for me, I'll give you guys an example. Here's a good example of self-sabotage. I'm eating a meal and I wanted to watch The Office, but quickly my meals would start taking up an hour of my time. And some of you listening might be doing this right now, where all of a sudden your meals start becoming 40-minute meals, an hour-long meal. You're just eating breakfast or something like that. That's self-sabotage, right? But do I enjoy watching a 8 to 10-minute YouTube video or something like that while I munch down on something? Yeah, sure. If I can't work on something else, yeah, sure, no problem. There's a difference.
Right? Yep. So is that right now? I think there's two other points that's important for us to hit on, as if
the 2 and 1.
Oh, I mean the big beast that I know a lot of people are struggling with. Some of you might not even struggle with this at all, right? But let's just say it, right? Weed and alcohol.
Weed and alcohol. And for anybody that maybe you're not struggling with these points, but other people who are struggling with these points that want to get rich, that want to be successful, share this with them.
Yep. And so, right, let's just drive straight into this point. Okay, building a business, becoming successful there's pain involved, right? You're going to get rejected. It's going to be tough. There's going to be good days, bad days. There is like a pain you have to go through to create right now, right? And someone might go, that's just a belief you have. Cancel. I don't need that belief, right? I can feel good all the time. Okay, look at your bank account and look at, are you actually like confident in yourself? Or deep down, like, are you just scared of feeling bad? And I really had to look at this for myself. Like, I used to really, really not like feeling bad. Like, I would avoid it, right? And so, yeah, the weed, the alcohol, all that stuff was like, it was nice because then I could justify it, man. I could justify it like scary good to myself. Or I'd be like, I'm not gonna smoke weed, or I'm gonna take a break. I'm done with that. And then I get kind of stressed out, and then I'd be like, oh wait, maybe tonight, like, because I've done really good. Maybe I should like give myself a reward. Like, okay, what if by tonight, like 7 p.m. and kind of wrap up, and then like I'm like kind of stressed too. Like, it'll help me stress relief. I'll be innovative. I'll be creative. I could justify in any which way, shape, or form. And guess what? I was deluding myself because, right? Like, this is so important, is when you link your reward system in your mind to a drug. Well, alcohol is a drug, right? Let's say alcohol, any drug, whatever. When you link your reward system to that, you're not linking your reward system to the actual goal that you say you want. This is so important. This is so damn important, because you will, it's like, why are you even drinking in the first place? Like, why is your life not so awesome that it just naturally feels like you have a buzz all the time? Right? Everyone loves that feeling. Oh, I drank a beer and now I got a little buzz. Why don't you just have a buzz all the time? Is it because you have a job you don't like? It's because the stresses of life and you've accumulated consequence. Okay, well, instead of masking it like a Band-Aid, which is poisoning you, what if you just went straight and confronted the issue and realized it's got to take some time? But guess what? If you want a group of people that are making good money and we can plug you into things that'll help you make money, reach out. Now, it's not as easy as grabbing a bottle, right? And just take a few swigs and, oh, okay, all of my problems seem like they melted away. But guess what? Your emotion compounds. You're going to want to drink again, right? You're actually poisoning yourself. Like, literally, what drugs and alcohol is doing to you is it is compounding the emotion and energy. You're not burying it. That's what you're doing. You're burying it. But it's going to come back with a vengeance. And then it's doubled up now. And that's why you're so irritable. And then you want to drink again. And it's this nasty cycle, right? And you will justify it in every way, shape, or form, instead of just look at the point of, okay, why do I want to do this? Okay. And if you don't have techno-tutor and you're not doing self-forgiveness, good luck. Because I don't know how you're going to even find out the real roots of the issues with that. Like there might be a few things you can see, but a lot, I mean, the vast majority of this stuff is unconscious. It's subconscious stuff. It's like from childhood, right? Like stresses and how you deal with stress and how that was modeled to you as a child and all that stuff. And
Yes.
you know, it's glamour. Oh, just a beer. Oh, just once a year. Oh, at Christmas, I'll just have a glass of wine. I don't usually drink, but right now it's a wedding. It's a nice celebration. I want to have a glass of wine. It's like, it was so fascinating at our wedding. Me and Jessica, we had no alcohol policy. And we intentionally said that because it's like, yo, this is going to be an event to remember. Why are you trying to get blackout and forget it? Like what? Like that is literally the antithesis of what we're doing. And so we set up very specifically with no alcohol. And there was like a bar downstairs. So someone literally had to go down, 53 floors in an elevator, go get the alcohol and then come back in. And it's just a pattern people have, right? It's a habit of, oh, at a wedding, I have a drink because it's fun and I'm going to meet new people and it's kind of stressful. And I just want to have fun, dance, enjoy myself, forget about the troubles of the world. So you use alcohol as a shortcut to attempt to do that. But in reality, doesn't it wear off the next day? Then are you feeling, right? The stresses of the world come back. So why not invert it and then never have to do that again? And in reality, guess how fucking amazing it is, right? I struggled for a while, like giving up, like specifically smoking weed. Because I had just seen, I had felt like it had really benefited me. And sure, maybe there's a time or place where it helped me get a cool idea where I could then change something in my life. But at a certain point, like after the second time ever, I could have realized the self-honesty of, oh, okay, I got the lesson. Okay, I can just practice more self-awareness. Cool. All right, now just go live life, right? And when you do this right, like when you're actually building a business, right? You got a wife, you got kids, you got family, all this stuff going for you. You're actually applying yourself, setting a real goal for yourself, really achieving that goal. You feel amazing. Now you hit a point where like, why would I even want to smoke weed? Like that sounds bad. Like, why would I want to drink? Like, I feel clear. I feel pretty fucking good right now. Like, why would I even want to disrupt my neuroreceptors in my brain? Right? Like, I don't even want that. I want to be clear. Yeah.
It's such a massive point. And for anybody listening to this who took the one thing, whatever it was, to justify why you're doing it, because I don't know. Mitch said, yeah. Like Mitch said, sometimes he gets a good idea. Oh, yeah, that's why I got to start smoking weed.
Exactly.
That's the ultimate self-sabotage.
If that's you, fuck you.
You're fucking yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You're fucking yourself. Right? So for everybody,
that's so funny.
I know, right? Really look at anywhere throughout this audio where your ego is looking for that one. You get the 99 reasons not to, and you hear the one little reason to justify why you should continue to abuse yourself, and you continue to abuse yourself.
Yes.
Really look at that. Okay. So guys, Donald Trump, he says, no drugs, no alcohol. No drugs, no alcohol. No drugs, no alcohol. You saw what it does to other people? Saw what it did to his brother? No drugs, no alcohol. Okay. Something to consider. And then you might have things come up. Oh, but rich people, some of them drink, some of them smoke. Yeah, but you're not them. And here's why they can do it and why I'm not going to do it. Okay. Because they are programmed to make money. Mm-hmm. Their default is to make money. When you drink, when you smoke weed, it sets you on your default programming. And if you're not already rich, if you didn't already have rich parents, your default programming is total fucking slavery. So if you're drinking and smoking weed, thinking, oh, well, successful people do it. Joe Rogan smokes weed. Because he was
Elon Musk smoked weed on Joe Rogan, man. I'm gonna be like Elon. That's probably Elon's secret to success.
That's his secret. That's why he's so successful. That's why he can. Oh my god,
he's so creative, man. That's why he's thinking about Mars and colonizing Mars.
That makes so much sense now, dude.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like, no, the fucking reason is because when he was a young child, he traveled around with his parents, reading encyclopedias and shit. He was exposed to technology early on. That's why he's successful.
Literally, just reading all the fucking time in the back of the car, all the time.
Yeah,
they're driving, he's reading. So just look at this for yourself. Understand this, okay? The reason successful people can do it is because they're programmed in a way where that stuff doesn't affect their ability to make money, okay? for you, why am I saying this? So you don't compare yourself with successful people who drink or smoke weed and they're successful. This is just, you got to look at this for yourself. And I'll give you a little bit of additional perspective. Weed was specifically placed throughout first world countries in order to suppress the people. Okay.
Yes.
Alcohol gets it's a more expressive thing. Alcohol makes you angry or expressive, and weed makes you docile and suppressive. So if you get everybody drinking alcohol and everybody smoking weed or vaping now, well, then you got a bunch of people who are totally at conflict within themselves, who are just going to keep running in circles and never challenge anything. And when you're smoking weed, you might have all the greatest quote unquote realizations. Like we talked about in the last an audio earlier on, you're having all these quote unquote realizations in your mind. Oh my God, great idea. Oh my gosh. But it's actually locking you in your mind, where this is something to consider, guys. The dopamine or the good feelings that you get from applying something in real life and seeing a real benefit and real change for yourself, or you get a result in reality, that good feeling is what wires you to continually build your business or continuously do that thing that makes you feel good. Okay. Yes. What weed does is it gets you to feel the same kind of pleasure by just thinking it. Mm-hmm. So that way you never actually go do the thing, because you're getting the equal wiring or the equal dopamine hit or the equal feeling good just by thinking it without actually having to go do it. So you're actually wiring yourself to always be a fucking loser.
Yes.
So something to look at for yourself.
Okay? Yep. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. And it's even the same. And this will kind of transition us to the next point is the next and final point, right? Is it's like when you have a goal and you really want it to happen, or you claim you want it to happen, are you the kind of person that then gets excited about it? And then you start talking about it and you talk to other people about it, and then they give you feedback like, oh man, that's a good idea. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Oh, and you can maybe do this, right? And you're getting all jazzed up about it before you actually do anything. You're fucking yourself. And if you don't know why, take notes, right? Here's why. It's because, right, you're trying to get the dopamine hit from just talking about it instead of doing it properly, where you should then actually you get the idea. Okay, maybe you run it by the people that it's actually pertinent to them, and then you go take action on it. And then maybe you trip and fall and you fail, and then you get up again, you keep growing and growing. And then at some point you hit it. At that point, then you got your dopamine, and then go tell everyone. That's fucking cool. Right? But we get it backwards. And it's a very insidious pattern that is within all of us. I'm very guilty of having done this many times in the past. Thankfully, I've rewired myself now. So when I get a really good idea, right, I don't now go share it with everybody. I don't get hype about stuff that I want to do. I mean, I'll get hype about some stuff, but it's like a disciplined hype, right? Like we talked about disciplined fun time earlier. It's like a disciplined hype where I'm like, okay, this is going to be really cool. I'm going to tell Asif this cool idea and bounce it off of him, and then someone else and someone else. Okay, cool. Got it. All right. Now time to get to work, right? Time to put on my big boy pants and actually do the damn thing.
You know, as a great example of this, starting this YBC audio experience.
Yeah.
Mitchell came to the realization, the half realization, like 75% realization. Then he's like, oh, I just had this thought. We got to be creating more content to support more and more people to start waking up. And then we started talking about it and what would make sense. And then guess what? We scheduled it. We got excited and then we scheduled it.
Yes,
we took a practical physical action to actually get the ball rolling.
Yep. And then we followed through on what we scheduled. And then we went through the nitty gritty steps of, okay, well, how do I get this audio saved from Zoom, send it over to Google Drive, and then we can put the thumbnail with it. And then it goes on YouTube, and then it publishes, and it blah, blah, blah. It's like most people just get fucking hype about the idea of, oh, I'm going to have a YouTube channel. I'm going to film the video. Okay. It's like, no, then you got to just do the last little part, and then you build a system out of it. So you don't even have to think about it, right? You have a team in place to do that. Right, that is how it works, right? And that is the shit you should be hype about.
Exactly. Because it's been really cool getting the feedback from you guys listening about hearing how it supported you to get to your next step, to make
Yeah.
more money, to make decisions, to open a business, all that stuff. That has been the real fucking reward that me and Mitch have been getting.
Yes. When I get a message from someone, I have multiple people that have told me this, that they took like the first 4 audios and they listened to them each 3 times, took notes, and then went and applied it. And then they told me about how they were applying it. That got me amped up, right? Because someone might go, oh, I listened to it 3 times and then they didn't do shit with it. I don't want you to do that. But if you because you might actually have to listen to it 3 times because it's so jam packed. But then you go and apply it. Then you make different decisions. Then you get different results. That is why we do it, right? And so that's why now Asif and I can go, yes, okay, we're doing it. Like this is actually really good. Now it sounds kind of fucked up, right? And again, some people will be pissed off by this, but it's like now the good feeling, it's now warranted. Like we actually deserve to feel good about it now. Mm-hmm. And hey, and it's like a disciplined feeling good, right? It's like, okay, cool. I can actually bask in this.
Right, exactly. Because for those of you who are using the tools, you'll understand what I mean when I say this. You can change how you feel about things.
Yes.
And you can, if you feel good, I used to feel good watching The Office and when I was supposed to build my business, but instead I said, hey, let me grab a snack. I gotta eat before I go, do some lead generation or whatever the case may be, whatever it was at the time. And I would go and I'd get the snack and I'd say, let me pop on some YouTube, because it's good. You gotta keep feeding your mind, right? You gotta keep getting the input, right? And that would quickly become 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hour and 15 minutes. That would make me feel good. Now, that doesn't make me feel good. And deep down, we all know at the deeper levels, it doesn't make us feel good. It's just a temporary thing so we can avoid it. But my point is, why Mitchell says now we deserve to have good feelings is because we've wired ourselves to feel good when we get the feedback from reality, from real life, that we're actually providing real value. Not based off what we think it's going to be, how we feel it's going to be. We get the real feedback from other people saying, like, for example, off these last audios, I've had people message me that they've gotten into relationships because they realized the significance of it based off the audios that we've been making. And I have people who've started their own businesses, invested 5 figures, and they've never done business before, but they've invested 5 figures into starting their own business because they understand the significance of taking on that responsibility for their income based off the audios that we've created. Okay, cool. I can feel good about it now.
Yeah, exactly. And then Asif, then we just sit back and relax, right?
Exactly. Then we stop doing the audios.
Okay, right. Perfect. Okay. All right, let's finish. Okay, right. Imagine that, right? Imagine if we actually did that. That would be so stupid. So, exactly. Right, here's now the final point, right? And then we can bring it all home, right? If you're not so triggered by now that you're crying or you're like gripping your fist out of fury right now, wanting to find me and Asif so you can tell us that, oh, well, you just haven't tried this one way of doing this, or blah, 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 all that stuff, right?
Oh, dude, we didn't talk about microdosing LSD.
Oh my gosh, microdosing. All the Silicon Valley executives are microdosing, and it's gonna give you the innovative edge. And the guys who discovered DNA were high on LSD when they did it, which is a true story, by the way. It's like, okay, well, guess what?
People's egos are going to take that and say, look, Mitch said so. No.
Exactly. And they're like, oh my God, okay, well, I do want a little more acid, right? It's like, okay, if you're thinking like that, like, I don't know what it's going to take for reality to fucking wake you up, but something's going to smack you. Like, you are abusing yourself. You're abusing life as a whole. And Asif and I have seen this time and time and time again. Something will come in and fucking derail you bad. And then you'll time loop like we just made in the last audio. And you'll either learn the lesson or not, and it'll get worse and worse and worse until you finally wake up, or you permanently separate yourself from life. All right. And we don't want that for you. That's why we're making these audios, and we're getting clever in how we get through to you so that you can hear us and you can actually change. Right. And for those of you, maybe you do really struggle. Like, I know some guys right now that are going through a similar thing that I did with weed, where they're like, it's very rare for them, but like once in a long time. Or like some people with alcohol, like, yeah, but like just at a wedding, I could really go for a glass of wine. It's cool. It's like, no, that right there is your fucking problem right there. Because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. I'm going to say that again. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. So even if it's once a year at a wedding or at Christmas or at whatever, or you go to the festival with your friends and that's the one time you let yourself eat a pot brownie or whatever the fuck it is, that right there.
Could you imagine? Mitch? Yeah. Like me and my wife, we're 100% committed to each other. We never cheat on each other, except for once a year. Once a year, I cheat on.
Yeah. It's just once a year, and it's just like, yeah, just like once, just like a little bit.
Right. Oh,
It's
look, Bill Gates did it, and now they're divorced.
Exactly. Yeah. And Bill Gates is overweight now, right? Because he eats too many soy burgers. And so it's like, do you want that, right? Or do you want an amazing fucking existence for yourself and for everyone, right? Because that is what.
Guys, I'll tell you how that pattern actually affects you. It's what you do. It's a subconscious point. Okay. Even if you smoke weed once a month, once every 6 months, once a year, before you even make the decision that, oh, look, I made the decision to stop weed, and then there was a wedding coming up. I didn't know that this wedding was coming up when I made the decision to stop smoking weed or stop drinking. But that's not how it works. There's a point that's inside of you, and when the wedding comes up, it just triggers the point inside of you. And that point inside of you is what it's really doing is it's saying there are things that I don't have to handle. There are stresses that I don't have to learn to transcend, because one day out of the year, I'm just going to get to drink. I'm going to get to smoke weed, and I'm going to allow myself to layer on top of the stress that I'm feeling. It's like you accumulate problems, and then you'll have that one little event every year. It's going to happen. Christmas time, whatever, it's going to happen. Where if you're accepting that one little point, it's one little point where you're not solving problems that are affecting you. Even if it's just the point of you are not socially comfortable with expressing yourself around people that you quote unquote care about, or quote unquote care about you, and you're not comfortable being yourself, that's a big fucking problem. That's affecting your business. That's affecting your relationships. That's affecting everything about you. Okay. So if you allow that one point, that's you accepting that that 1% of me is going to be a loser. It's not actually 1%. If you accept it a little bit, that's all your ego needs for when things get hard. As you grow, as you take on more stress, as you take on more responsibility, if you accept that one little point, it becomes the 99% again. It will take you over. When you're facing real fucking stress, real fucking challenges, you're $500,000 in debt and you're fucked up and your wife is depressed and screaming at you, that's when it's going to all come rushing back in and fuck you. That's why we're suggesting, if you actually plan to grow into a multimillionaire, a billionaire, don't accept any of it now, because when you grow, it's going to come back to get you.
Yep, exactly. And so here's the final point, right? To cut the dead weight on this is you got to cut out your excuses now, right? You really got to now start to identify and isolate, what are the excuses I'm giving myself, right? And just take a moment, write on a piece of paper, or write in your notebook or your note on your phone. What are the excuses that I'm accepting right now? And it might be, so let's come up with some examples here. Right. One might be, it's good for me to unplug and how do I say it? It's good for me to give my brain a break. So that's why I'm gonna let myself do the entertainment. Right.
Or anytime you ever thought to yourself throughout this audio, or when somebody challenged you on it, you think to yourself, well, is what you're saying is this what you're saying? When you try to take the argument and put it in a particular way of, oh, so what you guys are saying is, anytime you say that, whatever finishes that sentence is a bunch of bullshit. Are you saying that I shouldn't enjoy myself? Mm-hmm. Are you saying that I'm not allowed to feel good? Are you saying that I should never do anything that for pleasure? There's going to be some way that you take that statement that usually starts with, so is this what you're saying? Or is what you're saying is, whatever comes afterwards is a big self-sabotage that your ego is using to justify you being weak.
Yes.
So whenever that comes up before you guys throughout the audio, write that shit down. It's so good, so valuable to have that reaction come up inside of you.
Yeah, exactly. So you got that. You got, in general, it's like the excuse ultimately comes down to, I don't want to take full responsibility of everything, including the fact that I might feel bad doing the thing. Or I have fear about it, or I'm not fully certain about it. It's like,
That's the number one thing.
yeah. And so as of what should someone do if they're experiencing that?
You should just give in to the urges, just smoke a bunch of weed, drink a bunch of alcohol, and just give up.
And then hang out with all your old friends too.
Exactly. Or look, we can't solve all your problems in one audio. We're here to bring to your awareness maybe a cross reference. Maybe you've been thinking, yeah, I don't know if this is the best thing for me to be drinking alcohol or smoking weed if I want to become rich, if I want to be successful in business. I feel like we're here to give you the reasons so that for you to take responsibility for the points that you've accepted of where you're wasting your time, where you're giving into bad habits. We're here to give you that excuse to quit fucking around. We're here to give you the reasons to quit fucking around. And if that's not something that comes naturally to you, this is why we have the tools that we have. This is why we have the group that we have. Because look, if I'm not getting the real-time feedback from you about why you're stuck, it'll be hard to give you specific perspective to support you through the point, right? Me and Mitch both have supported a lot of people to quit smoking weed once and for all, to quit drinking alcohol once and for all, because they have the tools of change and they just need a little bit of support to see the blind spots of what they were holding on to. So that's why we suggest come on the group calls for the Young Billionaires Club that are every Sunday. And if you need that specific support because you haven't been able to transcend it alone, just reach out. I'm always here. Mitch is always here. We have the link to chat with us in the description. Right. So that you have the opportunity to get walked through whatever it is you need to walk through in order to actually transcend these points.
Yeah. So this is a deep one, but this is, again, we aren't here to make raw videos that hype you up like all the time, right? We'll have some that are fucking worthy of the hype because it's amazing. Some of the stuff that we share and some of the stuff that we've learned and all of that. And then there will also be audios like this that will really challenge you. But ultimately, when you look back a year from now and you see, wow, that was when I made the decision to change, when I gave up that habit that was actually really having me go in the opposite direction. You give that up, and a year later, 2 years later, you look back and you can say, I am so glad I did that. Like, I'm so grateful I did that. I mean, that's me with weed and with alcohol. Like, oh my gosh, I would not be able to handle the level that I'm at right now. Not even close to it if I was still allowing that within myself. So, yeah.
Same thing for me. I just remember it was always a point for me to be like, like I can't wait to like hang out with my friends. I'm so excited to hang out with my friends so I could smoke just a bit of weed, a little high, just relax. Mm-hmm. And if I was still holding on to that point, I wouldn't have been able to walk through all of the stress and fear that I have to walk through in order to actually be effective in business. So for those of you who have the tools, go back and re-listen to this audio. If you're struggling with any one of these points, just go back and listen to the part of the audio that pertains to it and write about it. Mm-hmm. Put the thoughts that you're having and the reactions that you're having into your techno tutor and go to support yourself first, because you're going to discover so much about yourself by challenging these really deep, visceral points inside of yourself.
Yeah. And just one last point that I noticed that helped me a lot, and this is just straight, like, I just see this as huge, is when I was working on letting go of a few habits that I had, like smoking and drinking, I had to be extremely intentional about, like, I had to be aware of what friends and environments that I was like just putting myself in that would make it extremely difficult to break that. Because I could make the decision and then like a month later, someone would invite me to this cool, like, backyard barbecue thing, and we're going to be like, you know, having fun and like shooting guns, and someone's going to play music, and I was like, oh, I'll just go for a little bit, right? It'll be fun. You know, I won't even plan on drinking. But then you get there and the peer pressure and all that stuff comes in. It's like, you got to get stronger. And why are you hanging out with those friends anyway? Like, come to the Young Billionaires Club event. We'll have way cooler stuff and no one's drinking there. There's no alcohol, right? There's no weed. But we're going to have a hot tub and we're going to have a bonfire. We're going to have amazing stuff happening, right? So like, you just got to get around the right people. You might have to build that group for yourself. But if you struggle with that, you got to be aware of what environments you get into where you end up being weak. And so that you can build yourself up. And then over time, you could go in that environment and you wouldn't even cave. You wouldn't even want to smoke. But it's like you got to find ways to support yourself, because if you really got like strong neural pathways for this stuff, you got to change. And it could be the exact same thing if you like to watch Netflix or Facebook or whatever. Maybe you have to take the app off your phone, or maybe you have to like take it off the bookmarks on your TV, or make a rule for yourself, like no laptop in the bedroom, because maybe you like to watch Netflix while you're falling asleep. Like you got to design your environment to help you, as well as then use the tools and then reach out to us, because we can support you. So I think that's good.
Yeah, that was a really important point. Same thing, because if you have, your friends asking, hey, did you watch this Netflix show? You're always going to have that little bit of negativity of like, man, see, I knew I should have watched that show. I knew I should have. None of that is true. It's just based off the people you're surrounding yourself with. I've had this really hilarious experience of people meeting us in person and hanging out at the clubhouse, and we're hanging out all night and having so much fun. And there was this, like the most recent lady, she was like, I can't believe that you guys don't drink. Like, this is the most fun I've ever had. And I'm always drinking at all the other times, and you guys don't drink. This is crazy. So my point in bringing that up is there's so many experiences of people having that with us when they're because they're around the right people, right? Don't make it difficult for yourself, because all it is, it's one moment of when you're hanging out at that party. I've experienced this when I was trying to quit smoking weed. I thought I quit, and then I'm hanging out with my buddies, and they're passing around a joint, and they kind of like, hey man, you want some? And there's just that moment. Because of that moment, because of the social stress and the pressure, I take it. I'm like, fuck. And then the next time I had to be aware of, I remember there was a point, this is for anybody who in that moment, they take the joint, you can still give it back. You're like, actually, nah. That's where it started for me, is making the decision to quit and then fucking it up. Making the decision to quit and then having to face the social anxiety of taking the joint, being like, yeah, man, yeah, for sure, pass it. And I take it, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. Actually, I just passed it to the next person. And guess what? Nobody killed me. Nobody thought I was a loser. It was crazy to me. My point is, we know that. Our ego doesn't know that, though. So make sure, like Mitch said, you're creating the environment to support yourself to start walking through that stuff, and get around other people in person who are like-minded, who are part of the Young Billionaires Club, part of Self-Perfected, part of different people who are using the same tools and things like that, because then you'll realize you're not crazy for not drinking or not smoking weed. Big points.
Exactly. All right, y'all. Well, share this with someone who needs it. Share with yourself again, because you might need to hear it again. And join us on the calls that we do on Sundays, because you can actually now really build those relationships with like-minded folks who have walked through this or somewhere in the middle of walking through it. And we're here for each other. So, all right, everyone.
Let's get rich, baby.
Excellent day, and change your life. All right.
See you later, everybody.